As I've mentioned before, if you have a problem that seems a little bit complex, one of the best things you can do is just try to look at one piece at a time. So there's some things that I tend to do in problems like this that have served me well. One of them is to look for things like linear pairs. Easy stuff to find, low-hanging fruit. And so I'm going to look along this thing here, and I see a linear pair right there. So c degrees plus 55 degrees must equal 180 degrees. Again, I'm just finding something. I figure it'll be useful later. So now I have that c degrees is 125 degrees, or c equals 125 degrees. And so I'm going to go ahead and just replace that variable with the value that I found. So that's going to be more useful. Now I'm going to look for and see if there's any other linear pairs or things like them. And again, you just kind of take this a piece at a time. And you know what? I see here that I have a right angle right there, and that these two angles form that right angle. And so 2 pieces have to add up to the whole thing of 90 degrees. So I get that b degrees plus 32 degrees, in this case, forms a right angle. So those have to add up to 90 degrees. Again, just piece by piece here. Great. So now I found another piece of my puzzle. D is actually a pretty easy angle here, and I'm not even going to write an equation for it. Since we see that we have a linear pair right here, and one of those linear pairs is a right angle, well, 180 degrees minus 90 degrees, or 90 plus 90 equals 180. So I know that D must just be equal to 90 degrees. And so again, now I've gotten a lot of these pieces, and now I see that I have triangles. Now we could kind of pick a triangle at a time, and sometimes I'll just draw out the different triangles. So I see that I have a right triangle here, and so I could just draw out this big triangle here. Okay, and since I know I was drawing this triangle, I know that this right here is A degrees, this one here is E degrees, and then I had a right angle there. Well, unfortunately, I have 2 unknowns here. So I do know that E degrees plus A degrees plus 90 degrees has to equal 180 degrees, but that's not really that helpful since I'm missing 2 values. So I'm going to pick a different triangle in this case. So maybe I'll try out this triangle here. And you can, of course, be smart about which triangle you pick. This one, I do see that I have 2 known angles and 1 missing angle. So this should help me out quite a bit. Again, our drawings don't have to be to scale. They just have to be big enough to where we're not writing too small and we're not going to make mistakes based off of our writing. And I don't think this is. And yep, I'm going to be able to get my equation based off this. I have 3 angles and only 1 unknown. So I'll go ahead and do that over here. Maybe call this number 2. And so I have that E degrees plus the other 2 angles has to add up to 180 degrees. Perfect. So I'll do some arithmetic here. And so now I found E. I'm going to replace it in my original diagram here. And just a quick check here, I have a pretty big angle and then 2 smaller angles. And, you know, even just ballparking this, I see something I sometimes will do is just add up the ones digit. I have a 3 plus a 2 plus a 5. Well, that's a 10. So I know at least I'm in the right ballpark there. Now, I could then try to, you know, come down to the other diagram here and draw another triangle. But I see that I already have this big triangle in here where I also had E. And so I could just do the same thing here and add them up. A quick kind of trick here is since I've already used up 90 degrees, I do know that A plus 23 degrees has to equal 90 degrees. And so I can solve it that way as well. And I think that I am done. Again, I can do that quick check here. if you think of an equilateral triangle, these are all pretty close to 60, and these are a bit under 60. In fact, this is 5 plus 2 under 60, and this is 7 over 60. So if you kind of think that out, they're going to average out to 60 each, or 180 degrees total. Again, these are just little hints. If that part isn't making a whole lot of sense to you, don't worry so much about it. The important thing here is, if you notice, I didn't try to tackle this problem by just looking at the whole thing and saying, I'm going to find everything at once. I picked out little pieces that were super easy to find. Then I started looking at the triangles, and I just found it one piece at a time. And at the end, I was able to find everything without too much trouble.